clean up our rig a little bit before we start on the finger controls, and also save this as a new version. Okay, so we've got a lot of locators here that we need to make invisible. So I'm going to turn them off in the channels. So I'm just selecting them, going over to channels, and typing in 0. You can also type in off if you want to. We can also select multiples at a time. Oh, this is weird. No, it's not. It's just overlapping. All right, so we're going to select both of these and turn them off. And shift select multiple ones if you want to. You could do them one at a time as well. The other thing we want to do is we want to clean up our controls. Now, I already did it for the left hand side. Let's do it for the right. So all of these controls, oh, I already did it. We just want them to rotate. I forgot. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to make some FK controls for our fingers. We can make them look any way that we want. Before I get to that, let me reload my shelf. This is sometimes an issue. If your shelf suddenly doesn't show up, you can delete your shelf and then just reload it. So I have saved it to a different spot than where all my Maya shelves are. And I'm going to go and reload my shelf, and it will reload. Here it is. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is think about what shape we want for our finger controls. Now, in previous tutorial for the IKs, the IK arms, I made little triangles as my finger control, and that's fine. We could do that again. We could make little circles. We could make little hockey pucks. We could do all sorts of things, like or ovals or whatever you want to do. So I think I'm going to go with triangles again. Let's keep it consistent. So I'm going to go to Create CV Curve Tool, Options box, make sure it's one linear, and press X to snap to my grid, and press Enter when I'm done. So this is at the center of the grid, which is great. I'm going to immediately delete history. And I'm going to name this as soon as I snap it to the joint that I want it to go to. So I'm snapping it to my index finger. I'm going to freeze transformations again. I'm going to go into component mode and rescale this so it's a lot smaller. I also want to rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it in the Y and rotate it in the Z, I think. Ooh, I need to have it pointing upward. There we go. All right. So now that I have got it pointing the way I want it to point, let's make it just a little bit narrower. And then I'm going to make my character visible. Oopsie. I am going to go back to component mode, select all my components, and bring my control up so that it is above my character. I'm just going to move it up just a little bit more. If you want to rotate it a bit, you can, so it's kind of like that. All right. Next thing I need to do is I need to name this guy. So I am going to select my joint, my corresponding joint, and then control copy the name and then paste the name of the joint, but change BN to CC. CC standing for control curve. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is duplicate this and press V to snap, freeze transformations, and change the name. So this is going to be index B _01. Okay, and then while I'm at it, I'm going to make this just a tiny bit smaller, and I'm going to move it down a bit so it's a little bit closer to my model. All right, back to object mode, and we're going to control D to duplicate and press V to snap. We don't actually need a control for the end joint. Freeze transformations. We just need 3 controls. and everything will rotate properly. All right, here we go. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's bring back the visibility and go to object mode just to see how it's positioned. It's positioned okay. Maybe move it down just a bit. All right, so we have all of these named, and that's fantastic. I'm going to make them all blue. Might as well right now. Okay. And I am then going to start duplicating them and snapping. So I've duplicated this first one. I pressed V to snap it. I am then going to select my joint, copy the name, and paste. We'll do CC. Okay. I'm just going to go across. I found an error here. This should be the ring finger. Found it earlier. So I'm actually going to search and replace names. And I'm going to search for underscore index. And I'm going to replace with underscore ring. And we're going to do that. We should have done it before. And then let's do that here. So this is going to be search for underscore index and replace with pinky. And let's just do that to the other side before I forget. I think I did not do it here either. Nope. So index, search for ring, and index, search for pinky. All right, and then we can change this to 1, and we'll change this to 1. I could have sworn I renamed this properly earlier, but apparently I didn't. Or maybe I just undid too much. I don't know. But we fixed it now. All right, so this has been, let's freeze transformations. Let's duplicate it again and move it over. Freeze transformations and change the name. And we are going to Control V, copy, or paste rather. And one last time. And then we are going to freeze transformations. And I'm just going to type in pinky here. Super easy to do. All right, I'm going to pause the video and create all the controls for the rest of the fingers, and then we'll start parenting them to one another. Okay, so we have all of our controls, and now we need to parent these controls to one another. We also need to make sure that we've frozen transformations for all of them. So I'm going to drag select all of them and freeze transformations. And so we're going to parent them. So remember, we select the child first. So I'm going to select the C control, then the B control, hit P to parent, and then the B control, and then the A control, and P to parent. Okay, and then we can see over here, they've all been parented. All right, we're going to do the same with the middle finger, C, then B, P to parent. Then we're going to select the B control, and then the A control, and P to parent. And as you can see, they are now all parented to one another. And they all move in conjunction with one another, which is great. Let's continue on. So we are going to select the ring finger C, ring finger B, P to parent, ring finger B, ring finger A, P to parent, pinky C, pinky B, P to parent, pinky B, pinky A, P to parent. And you can always tell what you've selected by looking over here in the channels. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is mirror these. They should line up perfectly with all the joints on the other side. So I am selecting my CCL index 01, so my control curve for my index A. And I'm going to go to rigging and go to skeleton mirror joint options box. Make sure we're in the YZ behavior underscore L underscore, replace with underscore R underscore, and click mirror. Why aren't we mirroring? Okay, let's take a look. Oh, I'm so silly. Let's MRT up here. I'm thinking of joints, and I should have been thinking, I've been mirror joints instead of the MRT tool that we have up on our Mel script shelf here. All right, so let's search and replace names, and we're going to search for underscore L underscore, replace with underscore R underscore, and replace, which is great, and this is going to be L1. And let's just look at our pivot points. Pivot points are perfect. And then we are going to select all three of these and make them red. All right, let's continue on with all of the others. So we are going to go over here, click our MRT tool, search and replace names. That's under modify, by the way. Modify, search and replace names. And then we are going to shift select all of the controls and make them red. Okay, let's go back over here to our ring finger. And we are going to MRT to mirror it. Okay. Once it is mirrored, we are going to search and replace names. So modify, search and replace names, search for underscore L underscore, replace with underscore R underscore, and as you can see, it changes, renames everything for us. It changes the name, which is awesome. And then we are going to go here and make them all red. So for this last one, I'm going to show you how to do this if you don't have our MRT tool. So what you have to do is select the parent, Control D to duplicate it, Control G to group it, -1 in the X. Ah, look, there it is. Okay. And then we are going to Shift key to ungroup it, and then we have to freeze transformation. So the MRT tool does all of that for us, which is fantastic. And then if we want to change the color the old-fashioned way, we hit Control A. That opens up our attribute editor. We go to Object Display, Drawing Overrides, Enable Overrides, and then you just find the color red. Now you have to do these one at a time. If you're going to do it through the attribute editor, it's just unfortunately how that works. And voila. All right. Okay. So now that we have both of our controls, all of our controls on every side, and they all are parented, we need them to actually do something. So let's save, and then we're going to save it as a new version. So this is going to be version 4. And we are going to just orient constraint, and we are going to make sure that our maintain offset is on. So I'm actually going to start with the C controls. So select your C control, select your C joint, constrain orient options box, and make sure maintain offset is on. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And we're just going to select the control, select the joint, and apply. And as you can see, it's just going through and adding a constraint to all of them. And there's no flipping or anything like that. And that's because we have maintain offset on. All right, apply, select this one. So remember, you're always selecting the control first, and then you're selecting the corresponding joint, and you're hitting apply. Pay attention to the channels box as I do this. You'll notice the control and then its corresponding joint. They're named the same. This is another reason why naming conventions are so important. Because if you don't name things, what's going to happen is things are going to get really confused really quickly. Okay, so the one thing we forgot was our thumbs, or did we? Let me just select this and hit F so I can zoom in and zoom around this. So I am actually going to duplicate this and then just get rid of the other three. And then I'm going to name this thumb underscore 01. And I'm just going to snap it to my thumb. I'm going to hit freeze transformations. We'll come back to that later, and we will position it properly, make the other ones, and do kind of similar steps that we did before. All right, so let's go here, and we're going to select our control, corresponding joint, orient constraint. Now, the reason I'm hitting apply instead of add for orient constraint, they're basically the same exact thing. They do the same thing. The only difference is if you click apply, the window stays open. If you click add, the window closes. I don't want the window to close because I'm still using it. All right, so then we have this, and you know it's worked. Well, you hope it's worked properly, but you know it has worked. When you see that the joint has turned pink, right? So you see that it's pink, that means there is an influence on that joint. And the influence is the constraint and the control. All right, so let's test all of these out. And they work. And if I were to select all three of these, we would see that it curls. Oh boy, awesome. All right, let's take care of our thumbs. Let's not forget our thumbs. So I am going to go into component mode, and I am going to rotate my control. Let's bring our model back so we can kind of see where it is in relation to everything. I'm just going to move it kind of forward. There we go. Now, maybe I want to, you could want to rotate it like the way it was, but I think I want it like that. Okay. All right, so now that we have that, let's turn that off. Let's go back to object mode. And we are going to make sure this is thumb A. And then we are going to duplicate it, snap it to the next joint by pressing V, freeze transformations, and change the name to thumb B. 01. All right, we're going to duplicate it one last time. Press on V, then let go of V after we've moved it to where we want it to be. And this is going to be thumb C. 01, it's freeze transformations, delete history if needs be. I do want to make it a little bit smaller, move it down. So I'm going to go into component mode, move it down, scale it a bit. I'm going to do the same for this second one. Just a smidgen smaller. All right, so now I need to parent these. So select the child first, then the parent, P to parent. Select the child first, then the parent, P to parent. And now we're going to use the MRT tool. And voila, we have them on the other side, which is great. We are going to search and replace names. And this time we're going to search for underscore R underscore and replace with underscore L underscore. And click replace. We can change the 2 to a 1. And then we can select all of these and make them blue. Okay. All right. One last step. We need to make it so these work. So I'm going to select my control, select the joint, and constrain, orient, options box, and hit apply. And we're just going to go through with all of these. Uh-oh. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure there was no values on my controls. All right, let's test this out, and it is working. Great. Let's go to the other side. I'm just going to hit F so everything's zoomed in. Select my thumb C, control, and then joint, and orient, constrain them, make sure maintain offset is checked on. And then click add to close it up. So now I'm done. I'm going to control S to save. All right, now the problem though is that this is selected, but if I were to move this, horrible things would occur. So what we need to do is we need to parent, remember these are all FKs, so we need to parent our A controls, our control curve A's. So you'll notice I'm selecting all my control curve A's, and then I'm going to shift select my wrist control and hit P to parent. All right, now all these controls are selected still, and I'm going to lock and hide their translate, scale, and visibility channels. Get it done easily. Actually, I don't think I got every single one of them. Sure didn't. Haha. I only got the A's. All right, lock and hide selected. Okay, let's do this on the other side. So we're going to select all of our A control curves, and only the A control curves, and then shift select our wrist control and hit P to parent. And then we're going to select all of these controls and lock and hide scale, translate, and visibility. Let's get our thumbs as well. And let's go to the other side and double check, make sure we got all our thumb controls. I bet we didn't. Oh, we did. No, we didn't. Aha. All right, scale, translate, and visibility. All right. Okay, so we should be able to move our entire arm together. That's great. Let's try this clavicle control. Come on. There we go. All right. We have everything working. There's a few cleanups we need to do. We need to turn off our jaw locator, so I'm going to do that. And let's make sure we've made all our other locators invisible too. It looks like we have. And next thing that I am going to do is go to my IKs here, and I'm just going to make the entire group invisible because we don't really need to see them. So I'm just going to turn them off for now. You can also click H, okay? And I think I already did that for my eyeballs. I did. Sweet. All right, so the next videos will be skinning the rig to our model. So it's basically attaching the rig to the model, the skeleton to the model, and then painting weight so everything works together well.